Mga ate at mga kuya, welcome back to Kuya Puto's channel. Nandito na naman po tayo sa opisina ni Kuya Puto. Tawag po dito, sala. Dahil this is the only place that my wife allows me to shoot YouTube videos. So, what can I do? Anyways, lately po, merong news. Actually, this came out last night. I saw it last night. Nasa news po siya. It's about minimum wage in Toronto. Bakit daw mahirap magtira sa Toronto kung minimum wage ang sinusweldo ninyo? Yun po ang topic natin ngayon. So mga ate at mga kuya, minimum wage sa Ontario ngayon is $16.55 per hour. Marami po nagsasabi, hindi po sapat yon para for you to live comfortable. Okay? Kailangan daw, dapat at least minimum $25 an hour. Yung po tawag nila is a living wage rate. Problema po, it's not financially feasible for many, if not all businesses, to provide that. Karamihan po sa kanila mababa ang crap. Like I said, meron pong news na lumabas kagabi, and ito po yung topic nila. I found it really interesting. You know what? This is a reaction video. Panoorin natin yung news clip, okay?
Hirap na ring makipagsabayan sa gastusin ng mga manggagawa sa Ontario dahil hindi sapat ang minimum wage sa probinsya. Magkano nga ba ang kailangang sweldo para mamuhay ng maayos sa Ontario?
So, hindi raw sapat ang minimum wage para mabuhay ka ng tama sa Ontario. Magkano raw ba talaga ang kailangan para mabuhay ka ng normal? Well, guys, minimum wage is not supposed to support a good living. It's supposed to be like a platform. It's supposed to be an entry point for many workers, okay, of all different walks of life to start. It doesn't mean dapat doon kayo mag-end. That's where you start and you build from there. So you can't base a living on minimum wage, lalo na po sa Toronto. Dahil napakamahal po. It's all over YouTube, Toronto and Vancouver. Imposible po kayong mabuhay kung minimum wage lang ang sinusweldo ninyo kung doon kayo nakatira sa Toronto or Vancouver. But you know what? Let's continue watching this video, okay?
16.55 now. We are calling for minimum wage that actually reflects the reality of workers.
Hindi sapat ang minimum wage ng Ontario para mamuhay sa anumang bahagi ng probinsya. Ito ang nakita sa bagong report na inilabas ng Ontario Living Wage Network o OLWN.
You know, we're seeing more reliance on food banks, more reliance on like community support.
Okay. Ito po ang problema ko dito. Kung minimum wage po ang sinusweldo ninyo, why are you in Toronto? It doesn't make any sense. You know, hindi po sa minamaliit ko yung mga minimum wage earners because you know what? My wife and I, at one point in our lives, we were minimum wage earners. And I respect the heck out of those people because it's not easy. Okay? Pero at the same time, have some common sense in your head. Okay? Hindi ko kayo minamaliit. Pero, you have to align your lifestyle with how much money you make, how much income you bring home. Kung sweldo ninyo is $16.55 an hour, paano kayong maninirahan in the two most expensive cities in the world, i.e. Toronto, which is what we're talking about right now, or Vancouver? Maling diskarte po yun. Well, anyways, let's continue.
To live in Toronto, you need $25 just to like keep up with everything.
Nangunguna sa listahan ng Greater Toronto Area, kung saan hindi bababa sa $25.05 kada oras ang kailangang maging sweldo ng mga manggagawa para mabuhay ng maayos. Tumaas ito ng nasa 8% kumpara sa living wage noong 2022 na $23.15. Huli sa listahan ng Southwest Region ng probinsya na nasa $18.65.
The $16.55 minimum wage is not enough to pay the bills for most workers. While the raise is welcomed, it's just not reflective of the current reality of many workers here, especially the almost 1 million minimum wage workers in Ontario.
Okay. So, sabi po nila, kailangan minimum $25 an hour ang kita ng tao sa Toronto para mamuhay po siya ng tama. No. Depende po sa tao yan. I guess, yeah, pwede kayong mabuhay, earning $25 an hour. Pero there's a big difference, guys, between surviving and living. You will just be surviving at $25 an hour. Ano po ibig sabihin ni Kuya Puto when I mean surviving? You're not gonna own a house. More than likely, you'll probably not even own a car. Realistically, you probably won't even be able to afford rent. When I mean rent, renting like say a 1-bedroom apartment or a 1-bedroom condo to yourself. Realistically speaking, you're looking at maybe a room in a house or maybe, a basement in a house, with other people, with other tenants. Kung $25 an hour ang sweldo ninyo, yes, you can get away with that. But it's going to be really, really, really difficult to have like all the creature comforts that most people consider a decent life. Okay? Dahil isipin nyo, after you factor food, telephone, internet, transportation. When I say transportation, di pa kotse yan. I'm just talking about public transportation. Miscellaneous expenses, medical, Kapos po yung $25 an hour na yan. So, kahit palipitin nyo ng palipitin, hindi po uubra, kahit sabihin ng kung sino na $25 an hour, pwede na yan. No, hindi po. Karamihan po ng tao, $25 an hour yung isa, meron silang partner, so magiging $50 an hour yon, di ba? At $50 an hour, decente po yun. Pero kung nag-iisa kayo, man, you're gonna face a lot of challenges. Paano pa kung sweldo ninyo minimum wage, which is $16.55 an hour? Napaka-imposible po talaga nun. Anyways, let's continue.
Nakita rin ng OLWN na umakyat ng 12% ang living wage rate sa Ottawa, na ngayon nasa $21.95. Malaking bahagi ng pagtaas ng living wage rates ay ang bayad sa upa at food inflation. Nakababahala raw lalo para sa mga low-income employees at mga migrante.
I talked to an international student who can't even afford to buy food at the grocery store where they're working, so they have to go to the food bank.
Okay. International students going to the food bank. I have a video about this. Check my my YouTube profile, guys. You'll find it there. And I'm not gonna go through that again. I'm pretty sure you know my opinion about that. They should not be using the food bank. Dahil that is for citizens or residents of Canada that are in desperate need. Okay? Kung international students kayo, dapat meron kayong pera because that was one of the requirements for you to come here. Otherwise, pinay ka ninyo. So if you put yourself in that situation, kasalanan niyo po yun. Don't take it out on Canada and how much Canada pays for minimum wage. Okay? And yeah, tama po yun. Karamihan ng bulk, like the big bulk of your earnings after taxes will go to food and will go to rent. And yung pong dalawang pinakamabigat. That's why it's hard. A lot of people need to understand. Yung pong minimum wage, you're not meant to stay there. That is an introductory amount for you to build from. Okay? Dahil marami pong tao, pag pupunta sila sa Canada, they will look at the $16.55 an hour and they will convert it to pesos. Napakamali po nun. Stop doing that. When you're here, you're spending dollars. And kung sa Toronto kayo nakatira, yung $16.55 ninyo, it's not gonna stretch. It's extremely, extremely thin. So, kailangan mag-racket kayo on the side. You have to do whatever it is that you have to do. But bottom line, $16.55 an hour is not enough to live in the big city. Look elsewhere, guys. Toronto is not Canada. Well, it is Canada, but it's not the only part of Canada. There's many other provinces outside of Ontario where maybe 16.55 an hour or $25 an hour will provide you a good living. So you have to sacrifice, just because gusto niyo sa Toronto, just because maganda sa Toronto, doesn't mean most of the time that you can afford to live in Toronto if you're earning 16.55 an hour. Let's continue the video.
Because they are only working 20 hours a week or even less. A lot of our clients don't have status. And what we're hearing is, they can't afford rent, they have to move. A lot of their work is not in Toronto. It might be in the GTA, and so even transportation takes up a lot of their budget. And sometimes they don't get enough hours, or they have unstable hours. I'm hearing that it's hard to buy food, hard for them to keep up with, sending money back home to their families.
Okay, guys. If you live in Toronto and you're making $16.55 an hour, I don't know how the heck you're gonna be able to send money back home if that is your goal. Di na nga kayo mabuhay sa Toronto dahil yung mga expenses and the cost of living. Ano pa matitira sa inyo to send back home? You know what? Even at $25 an hour, which they call a living wage rate, you're gonna have a hard time to put money together to send back home. That's the God's honest truth. Pumunta ba kayo dito sa Canada para, mabuhay kayo ng parang pulubi? Because that's how you're gonna end up living. Okay? If titipray nyo yung sarili ninyo, magkakasakit kayo. And you won't be able to work because yung health nyo babagsak. Diba? Etong si ate, yung organization that she works for, they do a lot of good. And I have nothing but respect for that. I don't mean to judge ate, ang ini-interview nila, but I don't know. It seems like it's one of two things. Either si ate is extremely rich, that's why she doesn't quite understand how people are living on the forefront, or B, she's a little bit young, maybe too young to completely understand, or maybe she's living still with her parents. That's why she has not realized or felt the realities of how it is to live in Toronto making that kind of low wage. But God bless her soul, her organization is, making a difference. But at the same time, ganito po kasi yan eh. Yung mga negosyo, yung mga companies na pinagtatrabahuhan ng mga tao that earn minimum wage, palagay nyo ng mga fast food, restaurant places, manufacturing places, warehouses, mga ganong klaseng trabaho, mga frontline, right? And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. I got nothing but utmost respect for those businesses and the people that work in those businesses. Okay? Kung yung kumpanya, all of a sudden, they were forced to bump what they pay their employees from $16.55 an hour to $25 an hour. Lahat po ng mga kumpanyang yun magsasarado. So everybody will have no job because it's not financially feasible. Let's, for example, restaurant. Okay? Sa restaurant business po. Okay? I'm not generalizing all businesses, but let's look at the restaurant business. Okay? Napakaliit po ng margin nila. They're working on very thin margins. If you order like a pizza, for example, at $10, okay? Magkano sa tingin nyo kita ng restaurant na yon? After making the pizza, after paying overhead, after paying labor cost. Yung margins nila, napakaliit. Tapos, if you're gonna mandate them to bump the minimum wage, like $10 an hour, $9 an hour from $16.55 to $25, magsasarado po yung negosyong yun. Lahat ng tao mawawalan ng trabaho. So it's not feasible. You know, like, yeah, in a perfect world, we want everybody to live good, we want everybody to live nice, but it's all gonna come down to expectations versus reality. Okay, expectation po ng lahat ng tao, especially yung mga baguhan, they want to come to the big city because this is where the life is, right? This is where everything is. But the reality of it is they cannot afford to live here yet. Maybe one day, but not right now. And minimum wage will not afford you a life that's consistent with a first world country dito. Okay? Ako nga lang po, I hate to use myself as an example. Okay? Nung pong bata ako, you'll see this on my previous video. Okay? I admitted everything. You know, nilantad ko po lahat. Sinabi ko, okay, ako po taga Toronto. GTA, Greater Toronto Area. Doon po ako lumaki. And before I left Toronto, I was making enough money to live there, but not the kind of life, not the kind of abundant life that I would like to live. So, iniwanan ko po yung Toronto. I wasn't making minimum wage. I was making more than minimum wage. I actually had a salary. But I chose to leave Toronto or the GTA and I moved to a smaller town that nobody knew about. I made that sacrifice because I knew kung mag-i-stay ako sa Toronto, my paycheck, my yearly income doesn't stretch as far. So as far as, you know, making moves with investments, with life, everything will be restricted. And I realized that if I moved to a smaller town outside of the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area, my options would be a lot more open. So many years later, after making all of those sacrifices, I was able to go back to Toronto or the GTA under my terms. Okay? So, I guess what Kuya Puto is trying to say, kung di kayo bagay doon, huwag niyong pilitin. Dadating din yung time ninyo. All you have to do is be smart about it. Ibagay ninyo yung sweldo ninyo sa living situation ninyo. So Toronto is not the only city dito sa Canada. Ontario is not the only province. There's many other provinces out there that have lower cost of living where your money will stretch a lot farther. That way, you know, it would present you with more options to make moves with the money that you currently make. And never ever have the mentality of, you know what, just because minimum wage pays $16.55 an hour, napakalaking pera nun sa Pilipinas, I'm just gonna stay there and not upgrade and not move up. No. Use that $16.55 an hour as a platform for you to build. Double that, quadruple that, more. Okay? Don't just have the mentality of, oh, I'm good with $16.55 an hour, I'll base my living out of that. No, guys. Do not ever do that.
Oktubre nang taasan ng Ontario ang minimum wage mula $15.50 sa $16.55 kada oras o halos $2,200 na sweldo kada taon. Patuloy naman ang panawagang ito ng Migrants Resource Center sa gobyerno.
We're advocating for paid leave, decent work, for decent hours for all workers, protection for migrant workers, and status for all.
Bukod pa sa mga pang-araw-araw na gastusin, tinitignan din ng living wage calculations ang iba pang expenses, katulad ng bakasyon at ang pakikipag-ugnayan sa komunidad. Teresa Redula, Omni News, Toronto.
So yung pong organization ni ate, it's called Migrant Resources Center Canada. So for short, MRCC. So sabi niya po, they are advocating for paid leave, for decent work, for decent hours, for protection for migrant workers, and for status for all. All of those things, guys, they sound wonderful. In a perfect world, yes, all of us, we all can have that. But unfortunately, the harsh reality that we live in doesn't really allow for all of this. Especially if you're working a minimum wage job, because most minimum wage jobs do not offer this. This is not even an option, okay? Like paid leave. Do you think a minimum wage job, or at least the majority of minimum wage jobs, offer paid leave for frontline workers? You know, that's like a huge expense for them to undertake, which to the point where if they ever offered it, their business model would not be financially feasible. Okay? And the same thing can be said about status for all. In a perfect world, sure, status for all. Sure, Mercedes-Benz for all. Sure, BMWs for all. Include me na si Kuya Puto because I want one. All right? The same can be said for decent work and decent hours. Okay? Nothing in this world is perfect. Nothing in this reality that we're currently living sa Canada is easy. And madali pong sabihin, okay, we want to give all of these people all of these things. This is our goal. This is our mandate. But you know what, guys? No. Because even people that work jobs that pay them 6 figures don't get this. You know, paano pa, you know, when it comes to like minimum wage earners. Totoo po yan, guys. I've worked with many people and I have encountered and made interactions with many people that make 6 figures and up on a yearly basis. And these things that Ate is talking about, it's very, very, very rare that they exist in their employment package. There's always something that can be worked on, and there's always something that's lacking. Okay? Only in a perfect world, this list, paid leave, decent work, decent hours, protection for all migrant workers, and status for all. You know, that is a dream. And it only exists in the dream world because there's always something that people are going to find wrong or lacking. So, yes, I hate to sound very negative, guys, but this is just the harsh reality that I want to show to our kabayans that are new here and our kabayans who are thinking about coming here. That way, they know what to expect. I'm raising awareness because it's not a bed of roses atong Canada. Okay? So una, mahihirapan kayo. Kailangan, you know, itapat nyo yung capabilities ninyo, ibagay nyo yung capabilities ninyo and what you earn to the lifestyle that you are currently living. Okay, guys? So sana naman po nakatulong to kahit konti. Humaba na to. And join me in the next video, guys. This is Kuya Puto wishing you good night, good morning, good afternoon. Wherever you are in the world, stay hungry, stay humble, keep your hustle strong. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye for now.
Sa akin kung sino nga